If you love potatoes, you're gonna love this video. This is one of my favorite ways to make potatoes now. These are smashed mini potatoes. We're also gonna make a little Brava sauce on top. So this is my take on the sauce that goes on top of patatas bravas. Very famous and popular Spanish and Mexican potato dish. We make these potatoes all the time at home. They're super easy, super delicious. So if you want all the ingredients, check the description box below. But enough talking, let's get cooking. So the potato we're going to use today are going to be these little yellow fingerling potatoes. I'm just going to split them right down the middle for 2 equal halves. And now we're going to repeat this with each of these potatoes, making sure we don't cut our fingers. I like holding the potatoes like that, right in between. Knife blade goes right in between. It's a really solid way to hold the potatoes. Now we're going to season them with some olive oil and some of my base seasoning, which is a blend of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. You already have this in your kitchen if you've seen any of my videos. I use it so often. And here is some Italian seasoning. You can use any dried green herb seasoning. And we're going to put a little bit of oil on top to help loosen up some of those dry spices. Now we're going to give this a mix with my hands until the spices and oils well coated all over these potatoes. Now that we got these all mixed up nicely, we're going to put them on a baking tray. I like to line my baking trays with aluminum foil and parchment paper. The aluminum foil helps on cleanup, and the parchment paper makes it nonstick. I also have my oven preheated to 375 degrees with the convection setting on. Convection makes everything crispy. We're going for crispy here, so the convection setting's on. If you don't have a convection setting, probably bump up the temperature 10 to 15 degrees. I'm going to arrange these potatoes cut side down and try to put enough space in between them so they're not touching, so nothing gets too steamed and things can crisp up. These are going to go inside the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes before we smash them. They're going to cook a little bit. Now let's prep some of our ingredients for our Brava sauce. So our Brava sauce is a really simple sauce. It really is just a base of onions and garlic with some paprika and some type of like tomato product like tomato paste that we're going to use, or you can even use canned tomatoes. So we're going to take these onions and we're going to chop them up pretty roughly. After we cook these down, we're going to process this down with the immersion blender so we don't have to be too exact with our chopping. So we're still going to be nice and neat, and after we're done chopping that onion, we're going to put this in a container so all this assembly is going to happen on the stove. With garlic, we just got to trim the little root end off each one of the cloves, and then we're just going to take our knife and smash them down for maximum garlic flavor. So I'm just going to pull these one by one, fingertips on the cutting board, and use my palm down to press the garlic and just smash the cloves. That's all the prep that we need for this sauce. So now in this pan over medium heat, we're going to add some olive oil, and then we're going to add those onions in. We're going to keep moving them around the pan until they soften up and take on just a little bit of a golden color. Anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes for that over this lower heat. And now in goes the garlic, and we're going to give that a mix around. We're going to cook that for about a minute, minute and a half until it becomes fragrant. Now we're going to add a touch of salt, a little black pepper, and I always go for the fresh stuff. If you have the pre-ground stuff, that's okay, but fresh cracked is always better. We're going to mix in the seasoning. Starting to smell good in here. The main flavors and color of the Brava sauce come from paprika, so we're going to use 2 kinds. I'm just going to put about a tablespoon of this smoked paprika in there, which I want to be the dominant paprika, and then I'm also going to go in with a little less than a tablespoon of some sweet paprika. You can also add hot paprika. I'm not going with any spicy right now because I'm trying to avoid spicy food. My digestive system's been getting wrecked, so got to stay away from the spicy stuff, but if spicy's your thing, now's the time to add it. And we're going to mix that around into the softened onions and garlic, and we're going to toast those spices a little bit and let them develop. Now in goes some tomato paste, and just like I said before, you don't have to use tomato paste. You could also use like any canned tomatoes, like petite diced tomatoes, or maybe even some leftover tomato sauce and throw that in there. We're going to give that a mix and let that cook and incorporate it into these softened onions and garlic with the spices. Now we're going to add some acid. I'm choosing some sherry vinegar, and this is the last couple drops inside this bottle. The stuff is so good. But if you don't have sherry vinegar, you can use white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar. Just a little pop of acidity to really develop the flavors in this sauce. It's so simple. And now from here, we're going to add some liquid in. I have some vegetable broth that I already had open, so I'll use the vegetable broth. You can also use a chicken broth here. And now that we got a little bit of liquid, enough to soften up so that when we put this in the immersion blender, that this is going to process into a nice smooth paste which has a little bit of drip to it. This is all done. We're going to remove it from the heat. And we're going to set this aside and let it cool. Let's go back to our potatoes. So I'm going to pull these potatoes out. They are nice and soft right now, so let's give them a good smash. We're going to take a piece of parchment paper, we're going to put it on top, and then we're going to take another baking tray that's about the same exact size, and we're just going to smash down with downward pressure. First on the edges, and make sure that you pay attention to the middle, because the sheet tray is going to flex a little bit, so it's not going to smash the middle as much. So I'll spend a little extra time making sure that I'm putting all my weight in there and smashing these potatoes nice and thin. Perfect. The flatter they go, the crispier they'll get. We'll give them a little spray with some oil on top. I've increased the temperature to 395, and these are going to go in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes to get nice and crispy. So now that our softened onion mixture has cooled a little bit, we're going to transfer this over to this little container. So all our flavors are in there. We're going to cream this up a bit with some Greek yogurt. You can use sour cream. That would be another really good addition. And we're going to put a little bit inside there, making sure nothing goes to waste and make sure I get my protein in. I'm just going to finish this up. And now we'll use our immersion blender to blend the onions and garlic and also to mix in the yogurt with the rest of the sauce. And now look how easy this all processes down. It makes this beautiful, like nice orange reddish color that the sauce is supposed to look like. And again, if you want to make this spicy, you can just add a little bit of cayenne pepper even at this point, or maybe even some hot sauce. Give that a little bit of a taste. This needed a little bit of salt. Make sure you're always testing and tasting your sauces before you think that they're done. It's really easy just to add a little bit of sauce now than it is to find out later. Now we're going to use the most underrated tool in the kitchen, a cut-off milk gallon top that we're going to use to transfer that sauce into the squeeze bottle. This is the ultimate thing to transfer anything into a squeeze bottle. We're going to put that aside, and our potatoes are probably nice and crispy by now, but the last thing we got to do is we got to cut down some chives. So I'm going to put a fine mince on these chives, and this is going to add a really nice pop of color and freshness to these crispy potatoes. And now these things are done and good to go. You definitely want to make sure that they hang out for at least 5 minutes before getting transferred over. That's going to help them crisp up even more, because when they're hot, they're still a little soft, but they'll only continue to get crispy as they cool. So now we're going to use our aluminum foil and parchment paper to transfer the potatoes over to our serving platter. And then we're going to go over the top with some of this Brava sauce and a little bit of these fresh chives on top. And this very simple, very delicious potato dish is all done. This is a very, very simple recipe that comes together so fast and so easy. Everybody's going to love these crispy potatoes, so I highly suggest that you start making them regularly for a side dish. And now look how delicious and crispy this potato is. Nice and flat, crispy on both sides. It cooked really fast. Before I eat, I really love this sauce, so I'm gonna put a little extra on for myself. And a little bit more chives. Chives and potatoes go together so well. Get plenty of that sauce on there. I said it once and I'll say it again. I love potatoes, especially these little ones that you can keep the skin on. They get nice and crispy. They're super delicious and they cook really fast. And this sauce, you know, we probably have way more sauce than we're gonna need for these potatoes right here, but this sauce is gonna be a very multi-purpose sauce. It's gonna go on everything we're gonna eat all week. I'm gonna finish the rest of these potatoes. They are really, really awesome. While I'm eating those, check out my German potato salad. It's a really awesome version of a potato salad that I think is the best version of potato salad. And these are my crispy sweet potato fries. I'll see you there. Thanks.